The Star Duchess hung motionless in the void, her elegant form now dark and lifeless against the backdrop of distant stars. What had started as a routine luxury cruise through the safer regions of the galactic Commonwealth had turned into every spacer's nightmare. In the main passenger deck, Officer Tom of the Blue Crest species fluttered his wing membranes nervously as he tried to calm the increasingly panicked passengers. His delicate, bird-like features showed strain as he addressed the crowd of various alien species before him. "Please remain calm," he announced, his translator converting his musical chirps into standard galactic common. "Our engineering team is working on the problem." It was a lie, and he knew it. The engineering team had given up hours ago when the artificial gravity began to fail. Around him, the passengers, most from light-gravity worlds, huddled in groups. Some floated gently in the failing gravity field, their spindly limbs and fragile bodies designed for worlds that humans would consider barely more than gas giants. Others clung to the walls with their suction-tipped appendages, their crystalline bodies trembling with fear. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Rod, a methane-breathing cloudborn, pressed his tentacles against the ship's diagnostic panel. The readings made no sense. The main reactor wasn't just malfunctioning, it was dead. The backup systems were failing one by one, and with them, the life support systems that kept 3,000 passengers alive. "Send it," Rod finally commanded, his voice heavy with defeat. "Send the emergency beacon." The distress signal burst forth from the Star Duchess, carrying with it a universal plea for help. It spread across the vacuum, reaching into the darker, less traveled regions of space. Most rescue services would take days to reach them. By then, it would be too late. But someone was closer, much closer. Aboard the salvage ship Iron Betty, Captain Jack Stone was enjoying his synthetic coffee when the emergency signal lit up his command console. He was human, a fact that had caused more than one potential client to turn him down. Humans were still relatively new to the galactic community, and their reputation preceded them. "Boss," called out his engineer, Mike, from the engine room through the intercom. "You seeing this? That's a big ship in trouble." Stone stepped over to the console, his heavy boots clinking against the metal floor. Another oddity by galactic standards. Most species preferred to hover or glide. But humans, with their dense muscle mass and heavy bone structure, they walked. They stomped. They ran. "Reading it now," Stone replied, his weathered face illuminated by the console's glow. The distress signal's data scrolled across his screen. "Star Duchess, luxury liner, 3,000 passengers." He whistled low. "Life support failing. 3,000. Mike's voice crackled back. "That's a lot of people to rescue. Most of them probably high-gravity intolerant species too." Stone smiled grimly. This was exactly the kind of situation that had made humans valuable in space, despite the initial fear and prejudice they faced. Where others saw an impossible rescue, he saw an opportunity to prove humanity's worth once again. "Plot a course," he commanded the ship's eye. "Maximum safe speed." "Captain," the AI responded, "based on the passenger manifest, the Star Duchess's recommended rescue protocol requires low-gravity approach and docking procedures. Our ship is not rated for." "Override," Stone cut in. "They don't have time for gentle. Plot the fastest course. We're going in hot." As the Iron Betty's engines roared to life, Stone sent a response to the distress beacon. The message was simple: help is coming. Hold tight. What he didn't add was that help was coming in the form of Deathworlders, humans who had evolved on a planet that most galactic species considered a death trap. A planet with crushing gravity, extreme temperature variations, and constant disasters. A planet that had produced one of the toughest species in known space. The Star Duchess was about to learn why having a human rescue crew might be their only chance of survival. The Iron Betty's docking clamps locked onto the Star Duchess with a thunderous clang that echoed through both ships. Inside the luxury liner's main reception area, the sound sent waves of terror through the assembled passengers. "They're here," squeaked a crystalline being, its transparent body flashing with panic colors. The Deathworlders are actually here. Officer Tom fluttered anxiously as he watched the docking port's status lights change from red to green. He had heard stories about humans, but he'd never actually met one. Few had. Their homeworld, Earth, was classified as a death zone by most galactic standards, a savage planet of crushing gravity, deadly temperatures, and constant natural disasters. The airlock cycled, and Captain Stone stepped through, followed by his crew of 4 humans. The passengers gasped collectively. The humans looked massive in their basic work suits, their dense muscles and sturdy frames, making them appear like giants among the delicate alien species. "Captain Jack Stone, Iron Betty Salvage and Rescue," Stone announced, his voice naturally louder than most beings were comfortable with. "We received your distress call." Officer Tom forced himself forward, his wing membranes trembling slightly. "Do you welcome aboard the Star Duchess. I'm Officer Tom. We weren't expecting humans." Stone finished with a slight smile. "We were closest. Now tell me about your engine problems." Before Officer Tom could respond, the ship's chief engineer Rod emerged from a maintenance tunnel, his tentacles waving in agitation. "We don't need help from primitives," he declared. "Our engineering team can handle." He was cut off as the ship lurched violently. In the partial gravity, most of the passengers went floating helplessly. The humans, however, remained steady on their feet, their bodies naturally adapted to handle such instabilities. "Your engineering team?" Stone asked, raising an eyebrow. "The same team that's been trying to fix this for the past 6 hours." Mike, Stone's engineer, had already pulled out a handheld scanner. "Boss, you need to see this," he called out, his eyes narrowing at the readings. This wasn't an accident. Someone deliberately sabotaged the main reactor. The revelation sent a new wave of panic through the crowd. Stone's expression hardened as he studied the data on Mike's scanner. Years of salvage work had taught him to recognize patterns, and this one was clear. They weren't just dealing with a mechanical failure. "Lock down all access to critical systems," Stone commanded his crew. "Bill, Lisa, secure the engine room. Mike, with me to the reactor. John, stay here and help the passengers." "Now wait just a moment," Chief Engineer Rod protested, his tentacles turning a dark shade of purple. "You can't just take over our ship. We have protocols, procedures." Another violent shake rocked the vessel. This time, warning lights flashed across every console. "Life support failing in sections 12 through 15, announced the ship's eye. "Artificial gravity systems critical. Hull integrity compromised in lower decks." Stone turned to face Rod, his patience wearing thin. "Your procedures aren't working. Right now, you've got 3,000 passengers about to lose life support, and we're the only ones who can work effectively in these conditions, so either help us or get out of our way." As if to emphasize his point, the artificial gravity failed completely in their section. The aliens began drifting helplessly, but Stone and his crew remained anchored, their magnetic boots and natural strength keeping them stable. How are you even standing?" Officer Tom asked in wonder, trying to control this floating body. "Earth gravity," Stone replied simply, already moving toward the reactor access. "About 3 times what this ship normally runs at. This is nothing to us." As Stone and Mike disappeared into the maintenance shaft, Bill's voice crackled over the comm. "Captain, we've got bigger problems. Found evidence of explosive devices in the engine room. This isn't just sabotage. Someone's trying to make sure this ship doesn't get rescued." Stone's response was grim. "Seal all docking ports. No one leaves. Whatever's going on here, the saboteurs are still aboard." The humans had arrived to save the Star Duchess, but they'd walked right into something far more dangerous than a simple rescue mission. The sudden blare of proximity alarms shattered the tense silence aboard the Star Duchess. Through the ship's massive viewing windows, 3 vessels materialized from FTL Travel, their dark hulls bristling with weapons. Pirates. Stone growled, recognizing the ship's aggressive design. He was standing in the engine room with Mike, both covered in grease from emergency repairs. They were waiting for the ship to be helpless. The ship's communication system crackled to life. A rough voice filled every speaker. "Star Duchess, this is Captain Black of the Dark Claw. Your ship is now under our control. Resist, and we'll vent your atmosphere." In the main passenger area, panic erupted. The alien passengers, already stressed beyond their biological limits, began showing signs of system shock. Some of the crystalline beings started cracking, while others entered protective hibernation. "John, status report," Stone commanded through his comm unit. "Not good, Captain," John replied, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. "These people can't handle this kind of stress. Their bodies aren't built for it. Officer Tom just collapsed, and the medical bay is overwhelmed." Stone made a quick decision. "Lisa, Bill, get to the weapons storage. Mike, finish that bypass. We're not losing this ship." The pirate vessels moved closer, their docking tubes extending like hungry tentacles. Inside the engine room, Mike worked at inhuman speed, his muscles straining as he manually turned heavy valve wheels that would normally require powered assistance. "Done," Mike shouted, sweat pouring down his face despite the cold. Emergency power rerouted to critical systems. A loud clang echoed through the hull. The first pirate ship had lashed on. Stone activated the ship-wide comm. "This is Captain Stone to all passengers. Get to the inner chambers. Now." The pirates weren't expecting resistance. They certainly weren't expecting to face humans. The first boarding party burst through their docking tube, only to find Lisa and Bill waiting with improvised weapons made from maintenance tools. What followed shocked both the pirates and the watching alien passengers. The humans moved with devastating speed and power, their bodies operating at full capacity in conditions that would cripple most species. Lisa's wrench connected with a pirate's environment suit, cracking it open. Bill tackled two more, his Earth-evolved muscles easily overwhelming their light gravity strength. "They're monsters," one pirate screamed, retreating back to their ship. No one said there'd be Deathworlders. Through another docking point, more pirates encountered John, who had transformed the passenger lounge into a defensive position. Using furniture designed for low-gravity beings, he created barriers that the pirates' light gravity-adapted bodies couldn't easily overcome. "Captain," Mike's voice crackled over the comm. "I've got engine power at 30%. It's not pretty, but it'll move us." Stone smiled grimly. "Perfect. Start the sequence." The Star Duchess's engines roared to life, the sudden acceleration catching the pirates off guard. Several of their boarding tubes twisted and broke, sending the unprepared invaders tumbling into space. "Dark Claw," Stone broadcast on all frequencies. "This is your only warning. The Star Duchess is under human protection now. Next move is yours." On the main view screen, they could see the pirate ships scrambling to reposition. They hadn't planned for this. Their entire strategy had relied on the ship being helpless. More ships dropping out of FTL, Bill reported from his position. 5. No, 6 vessels. Stone tensed, preparing for a bigger fight. Then his comm unit crackled. "Star Duchess, this is Galactic Patrol Vessel Guardian. We receive your distress signal. Hold position." The pirate ships fled, their captains knowing better than to face both humans and the patrol. As law enforcement vessels surrounded the Star Duchess, Stone heard something unexpected. Applause. The alien passengers, those still conscious, were celebrating. Their fear of humans had been replaced by gratitude and amazement. Officer Tom, who had recovered enough to stand, approached Stone with shaking limbs. We were wrong about humans," he admitted. "Your people are terrifying. Yes, but today that's exactly what we needed." Stone nodded, but his mind was already on the next problem. The pirates had known exactly when to attack, which meant the saboteur was still aboard. and now they had 6 hours of air left to find them. Everything went dark. The main power, which Mike had barely managed to restore to 30%, died completely. Emergency lights flickered weakly for a moment, then they too faded into nothing. In the absolute darkness that followed, most of the alien passengers froze in terror. Their species had evolved on worlds of constant light, never knowing true darkness. But in the blackness, 5 pairs of human eyes were already adjusting. "Status report," Stone commanded, his voice cutting through the panic. The humans' natural night vision, evolved from Earth's predator species, was already showing them shapes in the darkness. "Main reactors completely dead this time," Mike reported from the engine room. "Someone physically cut the primary power lines. We're on emergency reserves only. About 6 hours of air left." Through the darkness, Stone could hear the frightened movements of the alien passengers. Many species were starting to hyperventilate, consuming precious oxygen faster than necessary. "John, Lisa, start moving passengers to the central chambers," Stone ordered. "Bill, find us some light sources. Mike, meet me at the reactor core. We're going to have to do this the hard way." In the pitch-black corridors, the human crew moved with surprising confidence. Their eyes, adapted to Earth's day-night cycle, could pick up the faintest traces of light from emergency strips and distant stars through the viewports. Stone and Mike reached the reactor core, their magnetic boots clanking against the metal floor. The massive chamber, usually humming with energy, was silent and cold. In the weak light of their emergency lamps, they could see the extensive damage. "They really did a number on it," Mike whistled, examining the cut power lines. "This would take a standard repair crew 2 weeks in a fully powered dock." Stone pulled out his basic toolkit. "We've got 6 hours. How good are you at improvising?" Mike grinned, already understanding what his captain was planning. "Earth-style repairs. The alien engineers will have a fit." "Better angry than dead," Stone replied, pulling out a manual saw. "Let's get to work." Meanwhile, in the passenger sections, John and Lisa were guiding terrified aliens through the darkness. The humans' ability to see and function in near-total darkness seemed like magic to the passengers. How can you even move?" a floating tentacled being asked as Lisa helped guide it to safety. "Earth has this thing called night," Lisa explained patiently, while carrying 3 small crystalline children who had become too scared to move. "We're used to darkness. Half our planet is dark at any given time." In the ship's security center, Bill had found something concerning. "Captain," he called over the comm, tracking multiple hull breaches in the outer sections. "The temperature's dropping fast out there." "Pirates aren't giving up," Stone responded, his voice strained as he manually cranked open a frozen valve. "They're trying to freeze us out." The next few hours showed why humans had earned their reputation as space's most resourceful species. While the aliens huddled in the central chambers, the human crew worked tirelessly in conditions that would kill most species. Mike and Stone performed repairs that violated at least 30 safety protocols, bypassing damaged systems with improvised solutions that would make any standard engineer faint. They rerouted power through maintenance systems, used coolant pipes as emergency power conduits, and manually rewired entire sections of the ship. "It's not pretty," Mike reported, covered in reactor coolant and grinning. "But it'll work." Temporary power to critical systems in 3, 2, 1. The lights flickered, then steadily came back online. A cheer went up from the passenger sections as warmth began flowing back into the ship. The aliens emerged from their huddled groups to find their ship running again, powered by what looked like a nightmare of non-standard repairs. Chief Engineer Rod stared at the improvised power system, with all 4 of his eyes wide open. This is impossible. It breaks every safety regulation in the book." "Earth engineering," Stone explained, wiping grease from his hands. "Sometimes you have to break the rules to survive." But their victory was short-lived. Through the newly powered viewport, they could see more pirate ships emerging from FTL. And this time, the pirates weren't interested in taking the ship intact. The real fight was about to begin. The pirate ships surrounded the Star Duchess like hungry predators, their weapons charging. Captain Black's voice boomed through the communication system again. "Surrender now, or we'll tear your ship apart piece by piece." Stone stood on the bridge, his face illuminated by the glow of tactical displays. The past few hours had taught him something crucial. Pirates never showed up this organized without inside help. "Mike, kill all internal communications," Stone ordered suddenly. Now, Mike didn't question the command, immediately shutting down the ship's internal comm system. Moments later, they heard frustrated chirping from a maintenance tunnel, one of the Star Duchess's own crew members crawling out, holding a communication device. "Got you." Stone smiled grimly. "Bill, John, catch our friend." The saboteur, a thin alien with scaled skin, tried to run but didn't stand a chance against the human speed. Within seconds, Bill and John had them pinned. Navigation Officer Ray. Officer Tom identified him, his wing membranes trembling with shock. "But why?" "Money talks," Stone answered, picking up the dropped communication device. "And now we know exactly how they've been tracking our movements." A violent shake rocked the ship. The pirates had started their attack. But Stone was smiling, a dangerous glint in his eyes that made even his own crew pause. "Time to show them why you don't corner a Deathworlder," he announced. "Mike, remember that trick we pulled in the Centauri belt?" Mike's eyes widened. "The gravity slingshot." "But sir, these passengers can barely handle standard gravity." "That's why we're going to give them a choice." Stone turned to the gathered aliens. "Everyone needs to get into their emergency sleep pods. Now, we're about to do something very human." As the passengers were secured in their pods, designed to protect fragile alien bodies from extreme conditions, Stone's crew prepared for what they called Earth maneuvers. They magnetized their boots to maximum and strapped on additional supports. "Charging engines to maximum," Mike reported from engineering. "Though I still think you're crazy, boss." The first pirate ship launched a cutting beam, trying to slice through the Star Duchess's hull. But Stone was already moving. Using the jury-rigged engines and emergency thrusters, he spun the massive cruise ship in a way it was never designed to move. The pirates, expecting an easy target, suddenly found themselves facing a 3,000-meter luxury liner performing maneuvers like a fighter craft. The ship's artificial gravity systems, designed for comfortable cruising, screamed in protest as Stone pushed them to generate gravity forces that would feel like home to a human. "First target locked," Bill called out. "They don't expect us to have weapons." "We don't," Stone grinned. "We have garbage cannons." He triggered the ship's waste disposal system, which Mike had modified in the last hour. Compressed balls of frozen garbage shot out at high speed, puncturing the nearest pirate ship's hull. The humans moved through the ship with ease as Stone executed his plan, their bodies naturally adapted to the crushing G-forces he was generating. While the pirates struggled to target the erratically moving vessel, Stone used the Star Duchess's massive bulk like a battering ram, forcing the smaller ships to scatter. "Two ships disabled," Lisa reported from her station. "They're not used to these kinds of maneuvers." The tide had turned. The pirates, expecting to find helpless prey, instead found themselves hunted by a crew that treated their massive ship like a weapon. Stone's earthborn instincts and understanding of three-dimensional space combat gave him advantages the pirates couldn't match. "Last ship is making a run for it," John announced triumphantly. "They're calling for retreat." As the remaining pirates fled, Stone finally allowed the ship to stabilize. When the passengers emerged from their pods, they found their vessel surrounded by disabled pirate ships, with Captain Black himself requesting surrender. Officer Tom approached Stone, his earlier fear completely replaced by awe. "I've never seen anyone fly a cruise ship like that," he admitted. "Is this how you humans always fight?" "Nah," Stone replied, checking damage reports. "Usually we fight much dirtier." But we had to be careful with all you fragile types aboard. The Galactic Patrol would arrive soon to collect the pirates, but the legend of how 5 humans turned a luxury liner into a weapon would spread much faster. The galaxy was learning quickly. Underestimating humans was a deadly mistake. The main hangar of the Star Duchess had become an impromptu prison. 20 captured pirates sat in makeshift cells, their expressions a mix of disbelief and fear as they watched the human crew work. Captain Black, their leader, couldn't stop staring at Stone's crew lifting heavy equipment with ease. "I don't understand," Black muttered to himself. "The intel said this ship was defenseless." Stone walked past, carrying a replacement hull panel that would normally require a mechanical lift. "Never trust intel that doesn't account for humans," he said with a grim smile. But their victory celebration was cut short. The ship's sensors blared another warning. 3 more vessels had just dropped out of FTL. These weren't the usual pirate ships. They were military-grade destroyers. "Final backup plan," Mike said, checking the readings. "These must be their heavy hitters." A new voice crackled over the comm system, deeper and more threatening than Captain Black's. "This is Commander Spark of the Death's Hand. Release our crews, or we will destroy your ship." The alien passengers began to panic again, but Stone noticed something different this time. Instead of running away from the humans, they were running toward them, seeking protection. "Got an idea, boss," Bill said, examining the captured pirate ships. "Their weapons still work, if we can get aboard." Stone nodded, already understanding the plan. "Officer Tom," he called out, "how good are your people at acting scared?" The next few minutes saw a flurry of activity. While the alien passengers and crew put on a convincing show of panic over the ship's communication channels, Stone's crew silently boarded the captured pirate vessels. Commander Spark's ships moved closer, their weapons charged. "This is your final warning," his voice boomed. "Surrender now." Stone's response was unexpected. Instead of words, he answered with action. The 3 captured pirate ships suddenly roared to life, their engines burning hot as they launched from the Star Duchess's hangar. The pirate destroyers didn't expect an attack from their own ships. Before they could react, Stone and his crew, piloting the smaller vessels, were already among them. What followed was a display of combat skills that left both the pirates and the Star Duchess's passengers speechless. The humans flew their captured ships like they were born to it. They used maneuvers that the ship's original crews would never have attempted, pushing the engines to their limits. Lisa executed a spiral attack that would have knocked out any non-human pilot. Bill turned his ship's artificial gravity on and off in precise patterns, using the gravitational shifts as a weapon. "Impossible," Commander Spark shouted as Mike's ship somehow survived a point-blank blast by rolling with the impact, a technique that would have turned most species unconscious from the G-forces. Stone's voice cut through all channels. "Here's the deal, Commander. Your ships are designed for light gravity species, but we're humans. We can take whatever punishment these ships can dish out. And then some. Want to test that theory?" The demonstration had done its job. The pirate destroyers, faced with ships piloted by creatures who seemed to ignore the laws of physics, began to retreat. Commander Spark's final transmission was cut short as his ship flowed into FTL. When Stone and his crew returned to the Star Duchess, they found something unexpected. The alien passengers were cheering. Actually cheering for the Deathworlders. Chief Engineer Rod approached them. His tentacles moving in what they had learned was a sign of respect. "I need to apologize," Rod said formally. "I called you primitives when you arrived. I was wrong. Your ways are different, yes, but they are far from primitive." Officer Tom joined him, leading a group of ship's officers. "We've had an emergency meeting," he announced. "The Star Duchess's board of directors is on call. They want to offer you and your crew permanent contracts as our security team." Stone looked at his crew, covered in engine grease, battle damage, and now wearing grins. "Interested in a career change?" he asked them. The cheers from both humans and aliens filled the ship. The galaxy was changing, one rescued vessel at a time, and humanity's reputation was changing with it. But first, they had a ship to fix, prisoners to process, and a very long report to file with the Galactic Patrol. 2 weeks after the pirate attack, the Star Duchess floated in high orbit above New Singapore spaceport, its hull bearing the scars of its recent adventure. Inside, the ship hummed with activity, but very different from the panic of those fateful days. Stone stood in the ship's newly renovated security office, watching as workers installed state-of-the-art monitoring systems. The room now featured reinforced chairs designed for human bodies and gravity controls set to Earth normal. Next to him, Officer Tom reviewed the latest passenger manifest on a tablet. "Bookings are up 300%, Tom reported, his wing membranes fluttering with excitement. "Ever since word spread about how humans saved the ship, everyone wants to travel on a human-protected vessel." Mike poked his head through the door, his face streaked with the usual engine grease. "Boss, you need to see this. The engineering crew is actually asking for human training sessions." In the main engine room, Chief Engineer Rod had gathered his entire team. The once prejudiced alien now wore a modified human-style work vest and had been practicing with tools designed for Earth gravity environments. "Your emergency repairs," Rod explained to the gathered engineers, his tentacles gesturing at Mike's jury-rigged systems. "They shouldn't have worked. But they did. And now we need to learn why." The old rules weren't written with human capabilities in mind. The ship's medical bay had undergone similar changes. Lisa, now the head of security training, was teaching alien medical staff about human emergency procedures. A hologram showed the various ways humans could survive conditions that would kill most species. "Yes, we can still function with broken bones," she explained to the amazed medical team. "No, we don't need immediate treatment for minor cuts. And yes, we really can stay awake for 3 days straight if we have to." In the passenger areas, Bill and John had finished installing new emergency systems. Each deck now featured human-accessible maintenance tunnels and tools sized for human hands. The emergency pods had been upgraded to withstand what the crew jokingly called Earth maneuvers. Captain Stone's comm unit buzzed. Another call from Galactic Command. Since the incident, the bureaucrats had been working overtime to update space rescue protocols. The sight of a luxury liner performing combat maneuvers had forced a complete review of ship safety regulations. "The pirates' trial finished this morning," Stone announced to his crew during their evening briefing. "Captain Black and his crew are going to spend a long time in a high-gravity prison cell. They're making examples of them." "And Navigation Officer Ray?" asked John. "Turned out he was part of a bigger smuggling ring," Stone replied. "His information helped the patrol crack 3 more pirate networks. They're offering him a reduced sentence." The meeting was interrupted by an announcement. "Attention all crew, this is your captain speaking. The first group of human crew trainees will be arriving in 1 hour. Please make them welcome." Stone smiled. After their adventure, dozens of ships had requested human crew members. The Galactic Commonwealth had to create new training programs just to meet the demand. Humanity's reputation had shifted from dangerous primitives to essential crew members almost overnight. "Did you see the new recruitment poster?" Bill laughed, showing his tablet. The image showed a human crew member helping various alien species with the text, "Got trouble. Call a Deathworlder." As the day shift ended, Stone took a moment to stand at the ship's main viewport. The Star Duchess would depart tomorrow, beginning a new era of human-alien cooperation. Already, other ships were following their example, hiring human crews and upgrading their systems to accommodate Earth normal standards. "Quite a change from 2 weeks ago," Officer Tom said, joining him at the viewport. "When you first arrived, everyone was terrified of the Deathworlders. Now they feel safer with humans aboard than without them." Stone nodded, watching as a shuttle approached carrying the new human trainees. Fear or respect? It was never about that. It was about understanding each other. "We're different, sure, but that's what makes us stronger together." The Star Duchess's story had become legend in the galaxy's shipping lanes. Now, when vessels sent out distress calls, they often added a specific request: send humans. After all, when you're lost and helpless in space, there's nothing better than having a Deathworlder on your side.